Welcome back. It's still the newspaper review right here on High Impact Television. We're done taking a look at stories making the rounds on front page of the Punch newspaper. And currently we are being joined by Dr. Jide Johnson. He's a lecturer from the National Institute of Journalism. Good morning and welcome to the newspaper review.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Jide, yesterday was May the 3rd, and it's the World International Press Freedom Day across the globe. In fact, a global conference is to take place by the United Nations in Uruguay, and their discussion falls in the our digital era has promoted the freedom of expression. But before we go to that, let's talk about press freedom in Nigeria, the freedom of expression and the safety of journalists. First, I am glad I'm discussing with a professional in that sector and a doctor who not only practiced but has equally taught in this sector. So, how would you assess press freedom in Nigeria and the safety of journalists?
Well, Section 22 of 1999 Constitution as amended made an exclusive provision for what should be the role of the media in the society, specifically to be the watchdog. And then vis-a-vis this provision and media responsibility and role, you agree with me that to a large extent, the democracy we are experiencing wouldn't have been to be if not for the media, that the media played a critical role in not having democracy in Nigeria today. So, and a critical component of democratic society is the freedom of expression. The majority we have their way, but the minority we are safe. The media gives opportunity for everyone that has an opinion to express itself. If you look at that within the Nigerian media landscape, to a large extent, everyone has an opportunity, whether you belong to the ruling party or whether you belong to the opposition. Everybody has a voice. Now, you go to the second aspect of your question, with respect to safety.
Yes.
Now, the issue of safety is not only peculiar to journalists alone. It has to do with the safety of the entire citizenry. However, if security of lives and property are not well protected, then the most affected set of people are the watchdog, because the watchdog are meant to watch over the society. So to a large extent, how safe as journalists in Nigeria, considering the peculiar security situation we have, and considering the high stake and high bias politics, because we only have a name through which people can escape poverty in our part of the world. And you've seen some measure of desperation on the part of the political class. That's the case in which one former minister of aviation berated, in actual assaulted a journalist. So we've seen situations whereby journalists have covered events like EndSARS protest,
yes,
events like happenings in government where they've been around, where cameras have been smashed and stuff like that, without any dark consequences for it. To a large extent, if I have to put a percentage on it, I would say it is just above average when it comes to the safety of journalists in Nigeria, because there are not enough measures and not enough safeguards to protect journalists, either from institutional perspective and from governmental perspective.
Okay. Now, when I look at the word freedom of expression, first of all, the freedom of expression, the law and the section that you quoted is quite relative to that of the journalists. But the people out there that expresses their opinion, whether they are dissenting voices to the incumbent administration or they are voices that has just been aggrieved by policies of governments, most times when journalists go out to interview people, even to carry out a simple task as vox pop, you have people, they are scared to speaking to journalists because they feel when they say something that is against a government, they are afraid that they might be picked up the next day and at their houses. Could you please demystify some of these fears exercised by the people out there?
Well, the people, one of the major challenges of journalism globally is that are journalists representing the people or they are representing the elite? That's the problem. A credibility problem globally with respect to whose interest does the media serve in the society. Now, when you have that perception problem, people then lack trust in speaking to the media, because the media itself engages in self-regulation. I believe that the critical challenge facing the media, either in Nigeria or in Europe or in America, is self-regulation. It's self-regulation. The media is over-regulating itself with respect to pandering to some certain interest groups, whether political interest or economic interest. And the people cannot be deceived. They can see it. What is the essence of expressing my opinion when I knew quite all right that my opinion will be gatekept by the editor? My opinion will not be given access. And then my opinion will be modified or manipulated to serve a certain editorial policy or production objectives. So that itself is an internal issue that we need to resolve. I'll give you an example. Towards the 2020 election in United States of America, New York Post posted a particular story with respect to the first son of the American president. All major mainstream media organizations said it's disinformation, it's Russian disinformation, is this, is that. Today, what they call disinformation is not being reported by the media. So the people can see how sincere we are and how truthful we are with respect to carrying out our responsibility and serving as the watchdog, the eyes of the people, the voice of the people, and the ears of the people. So that's just my take on it.
Okay, Dr. Jide, isn't this a dangerous trend? Because the media is supposed to serve as the watchdog. They are supposed to earn the trust of the people. If the people cannot trust politicians and they cannot trust government and they cannot trust the media that was supposed to be the conduit with which they voice their grievances and their opinion, then where do they stand?
Because the media have become part and parcel. Rather than being the watchdog, the media have become the pet dog and the lapdog of the political elite. They have become. Now, I have discussed this with my colleagues, both in academics and in practice. That look, situate the present state of Nigerian media under democratic system. Under civilian administration, we don't even have democracy. Now, with what obtains under military regime. Now look at the performance. If we have the state of the media we have now under the military regime, I'm not too sure we'll be in civilian administration today. So the people can see that. All you need to do is just to look at the global perception index of public trust on institutions and look at public trust of journalists, public trust of judiciary, public trust of the police. You will see that the journalism, the media is not far away from other state institutions in terms of the trust that people have in the media. And it's an internal issue that we need to resolve. The media ought to represent the people, not to be the voice. In the past, the media used to be the advocate of people's interest. You know what the media is now? The media is more or less like the echo of the political class. All you need to do is to go to the front page of the newspaper. You just see the major headlines is reporting what government has done. If you listen to major headlines of news, President Muhammad Buhari, the governor of Lagos State, the governor of this, the governor of that. So that's what we see.
Okay.
So the people can see.
All right. Dr. Jide, if that's the case, does that mean that democracy is at stake here?
Yeah, democracy is at stake because democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. And the media is a critical institution in democracy. Now, the media automatically, in practice, is an opposition to government.
But that's not
The three
politically,
organs
right?
of government-
That's not politically.
No. In practice,
Okay.
the three organs of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature,
Okay.
can connive
Yes.
together to want to serve their own selfish interest. However, the media exists as an institution to draw the attention of the public to what government is doing. These organs of government, whether there is connivance or whether they are working in the interest of their selfish interest or they are working in the interest of the people. As far as the media is concerned, the people have the right to know. As far as the government is concerned, governance exists in secrecy. That's why you have Official Secret Act.
Oh.
So they don't want people to know that the people elect people into government, and then the government will now be doing this in secret. Say, okay, this is secret. What is secret about public governance? The people have the right to know.
Okay, Dr.
And it is the responsibility of the people, of the media, to let the people know what government is doing. But government is shrouded in secrecy. Government does not want people to know what is going on. However, it is the responsibility of the media. And in carrying out this duty, automatically, the media is opposed to the style, the principle of governance by those in government.
Okay.
So essentially, the media is an opposition.
Okay. Now, Dr. Jide, now I like this, but however, let's look at it from the other part. Do you think there should be a law that should regulate the ownership of media? Because there's been this accusation that if the media has become a lapdog, like you said in your comments, then who owns the media? Most of the media practitioners have been tagged or termed as politicians and professional politicians and business politicians. Do you think that could be one of the cogs in the wheel for that is restraining the effective administration or the effective opposition that the media is supposed to play in the sphere of politics?
It's about, there's no way we can divulge ownership influence on editorial policy direction. Now, there's no way we can divulge. And then if you look at the structure of the Nigerian media landscape, now, the ownership is owned by people that have political interest, whether in the broadcast sector, whether in the print media sector. Let's look at all the major newspapers. Let's look at all the major TV stations and radio stations that are privately owned. And then that itself becomes a problem, which takes me to the second leg of the question which you asked. In what way has the digital revolution bring about some democratization in the media landscape?
Yes.
Thank God for social media. Thank God for new media. Otherwise, the editorial landscape has been colonized and controlled by people with both political and economic interest. Now, so as a result of that, voices are given to these people in the mainstream media. But the digital media landscape and the social media landscape has changed that. And that's why William Dunton in 2009 said, social media is the fifth estate of the realm. If the mainstream media is the fourth estate, that we have seen the emergence of the fifth estate of the realm that has given the voices to the voiceless, that have empowered people and have given access to the ordinary citizenry to participate in the generation, production, and distribution of thoughts. So as a result of that, you have seen that the control that the mainstream media has over public discourse has been drastically eroded with the advent of social. That itself has no implication. Implication in the sense that it gives room to disinformation, it gives room to misinformation.
Yes, I was going to come to that.
Different types of manipulation.
Dr. Jide,
different types of interest.
Yes, I was going to come to that. Now, when we look at the conventional media, we have laws and ethics that regulates the profession so that even when you voice your opinion, even when you are critical of governing authorities, you are governed. There are rules that govern your criticism. It must be structural criticism, criticism with evidence that can be touched, felt, and seen, and not the ones that will be tailored towards defamation and libel and that are scandalous. We don't have this in the train of social media. Then how do you think this evolution? Yes.
This issue, does it affect mainstream media? You know, it's just a matter of time, like we said. The word mass media, the word mass in sociology means large collection of people. Now, the word press is an ancient word for large collection of people. So when we talk about the media, we are talking about people.
Okay.
What represents the people? The people themselves understand, and it's just a matter of time that the key element is self-regulation, not government regulation. I don't support government regulation. When the print media evolved, we had what we call yellow journalism.
Yes.
Where people publish rumor, gossip, and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Where are those soft-tail magazines? You understand that there was a particular point in time in the 90s in Nigeria, soft-tail magazines were the dominant media platform that was very, very successful there. We are there today. So essentially, this thing with time gets over-regulated because the real regulator of the media landscape are the people.
Okay.
You see, someone said you can fool the people some of the time. You can't fool them all of the time.
Okay.
I don't believe that there's a need for government to control that landscape. It should be left for self-regulation.
Okay, Dr. Jide, now our time is fast spent, but before, in a few seconds, I would like you to just respond to this question so that we can move on. It's about the social media, which is seen as the savior of the people because of the quote-unquote more like the mainstream media seem to have disappointed the people. But social media, do remember that during hashtag NSAS protest, the government, by virtue of the role that Twitter was perceived to have played in that protest, they were suspended, and the suspension held sway in Nigeria. In fact, media houses were even barred from using the social media platform to, carry out their news reels and pass information to the public. If the government still have authority to regulate social media that has seemed to, come to save the people and to present their view as it is, then don't you think it might still end up on the same pan that the mainstream media ended up?
Now, this issue you raised, I sent as a question for my students during that period, and I asked them, does the government have does the presidency? Because when people talk about federal government, they don't understand. The presidency is just a component part of the federal government. The federal government is made up of the National Assembly.
Yes.
The federal court and the executive, which is represented by the presidency.
Okay.
Nigeria is not an empire that you rule by proclamation. I argue this both in class and in the media that the president does not have the power to ban social media. If you want to do that, you have to enact a law to that effect. And if that is not done to that effect, the president cannot by proclamation. Otherwise, you are not a state that is governed by rule of law. So that ban is for media organization. It was because of the control that NBC had over private media organizations, particularly broadcast organizations. That's why most of them comply, because they'll be fined.
Okay.
That was an illegality. It was a nullity. It was done that. I keep saying it. Imagine if Gandhi were to be alive. Imagine all those constitutional lawyers. Where have they all gone to now?
Okay. Dr. Jide Johnson is a lecturer at the National Institute of Journalism. Thank you very much. Yeah, excuse me?
Nigerian Institute of Journalism.
Yes, Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Thank you very much for your time this morning on the newspaper review. I would have wanted us to discuss more on this, but we will have this discussion again some other time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you.